As we head into round number 5 of this entertaining season, it was time to find out what was going on in and around the paddock heading into the French Grand Prix. First of all, we have now heard from Toto Wolff after, obviously, throughout this entire season, we've been hearing a lot of drama between Rees, Esteban Ocon, Thomas Fox, and also George Russell, each trying to attack one another, with both Mercedes drivers defending their act for what they have been doing, in other words, just being assigned to the team. And now the big boss Toto Wolff is now getting involved. He has officially defended his driver choices and his team personnel. Toto Wolff has explained that the reason behind Rees and Tom's signings are going to remain private for the time being. However, he says that at some point he'll probably express why. Toto Wolff says that Tom and Rees should not be bothering with these two people trying to get in their way. The fact of the matter is they're both doing a sensational job for the team so far, and they should just continue to focus on that. So despite the fact that he's been defending his driver choices in team, he is now trying to urge both Tom and Rees to move away from them and carry on with what they do best, which is the work on the track. Charles Leclerc has denied that he wants to leave Porsche. However, Daniel Ricciardo didn't say no. Now, last race we saw that there were some sources from France that stated that Charles Leclerc wanted to leave Porsche and that Daniel Ricciardo was unhappy with Renault and wanted to leave. Now, of course, with us being only not even five races into the season, this was a really weird thing to state. Now, Charles Leclerc instantly denied this. He said, look, I'm with a contract with Porsche. Porsche are on their way up at the moment and it can only be better for them. However, Daniel Ricciardo said, never say never. And he didn't say that he was going to leave, so that's obviously something that we can put into perspective. But he didn't say that he was going to stay either. So it's definitely okay with Charles Leclerc, but Daniel Ricciardo's definitely put the story onto his side of things. Now, of course, Daniel Ricciardo did drive for Red Bull, then he drove for Ferrari drove for Mercedes, then he drove for Ferrari, and now he's at Renault. So, yeah, a bit of change for Daniel Ricciardo. Maybe he wants to go back to one of those teams he was originally with. Who knows? Ferrari have said they're making a statement at the German Grand Prix regarding the incident between Hülkenberg and Rosberg. If you weren't aware of this, basically Hülkenberg and Rosberg had to be separated in the paddock by Max Verstappen and Valtteri Bottas. We don't know what this was for. We don't know why they decided to do this and what the problems were around it. Ferrari has said that we're sorting this out as we speak, and we are making a statement at the German Grand Prix to give it time to elapse. So yeah, we'll just see what they have to say. And then finally, more news from the FIA, and they have stated that they are finalising plans for regulation changes next year. The plans are to have an increased size towards the rear wing and also height, a much bigger front wing with less pieces of elements on the front wing, and some simpler brakes as well. So yeah, there could be some rule changes coming in next year, which maybe could shake up the grid. Taking a look at then some of the practice pointers for the French Grand Prix. First of all, Mercedes are showing better long-run pace than the rest of the field. It appears that on the long runs, Mercedes-Benz have some great pace. However, Mercedes have denied that they've got the fastest race pace of the bunch, as they believe that McLaren was sandbagging and that they had more to offer. As obviously, it looks like, as you can see from the next point, that is the case because McLaren are clear favourites to win here at the French Grand Prix. They seem to have it all under control in the qualifying simulation pace, in the qualifying runs. And in the simulation runs, they were around about a tenth of a second shy of Mercedes. However, in the speed traps, they were slower than Mercedes. Obviously, Mercedes have got the weakest power unit on the grid, so we highly doubt that they have got that little straight line speed. And finally, Jaguar were looking extremely strong, especially in FP2. In FP1, Jaguar were in the bottom 5. However, in FP2, they were running comfortably in the point scoring positions, and their pace was really, really competitive. Jaguars still have some worries though, as in FP3, things didn't go their way. They were still unhappy with the balance in FP3, but they said that they're going to try and monitor things all on FP2, as that is what they were best at. But let's get into the race and also qualifying for the French Grand Prix. Yo, what's going on, guys? It is Foxy98 here. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the F1 journey for you guys today here on the channel. So we're here for round number 5 at the French Grand Prix, and I'm pretty sure this is like the first time I've ever done like a 50% or like a post-commentary over a French Grand Prix before, because I remember in career mode, I don't even remember getting that far. I think my French Grand Prix corrupted when I did it in career mode. But yeah, we are here in Paul Ricard, and this should be quite an interesting race. Obviously, last time around in the Canadian Grand Prix, if you haven't seen that one yet, be sure to go and watch that episode before you go ahead and watch this one. And if you do enjoy this episode, be sure to drop a like on it and subscribe if you are new around here as well to the channel. And let's get on with it then. So, into the French Grand Prix, I was quite nervous, to be honest. It's normally, actually, it's a really strong track for myself. I do enjoy driving around here. It's one of my favourite tracks on the calendar, as I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys know. However, of course, with the Mercedes being the weakest power unit on the grid, it's very difficult to really maximise the performance when we've got such a slow car in a lot of areas on the track. My first lap wasn't too good at all. My second lap was even, well, it was 4 tenths up, but I only moved up 1 position. So yeah, but anyway, this is now it. So I actually wanted to go ahead and show this lap off, because this was kind of me now. I'm in P13, I'm really struggling, and I just threw caution to the wind, and I went for it. So breaking at the 50-meter board then, in towards turns 1 and 2. I sort of lift off a little bit, actually ran a little bit wide there, which is quite awkward, but you can already see we're around about a tenth of a second up just by going a little bit more aggressive. And then in towards this next complex of corners, I broke at the 50-meter board here because I just decided to brake later, of course. I don't really like to explain the exact points that I brake at, because of course when you run with low braking assist like I do, which I'm not even afraid to say that, like I don't know why anyone should be afraid to say whatever assist they use, you can sort of just brake that little bit later. So I would never take my braking points as a reference, because it's probably a case that you'd have to brake a little bit earlier when using no braking assist, but who knows, because I don't really test it after. I've tried it a few times, and yeah, so anyway, enough of that. But as you can see now, heading towards the middle sector, we're already 2 tenths up on our personal best lap. You can see we're 3 tenths down on the fastest lap so far, but all my time was being lost in this final sector, sorry. The AIs were just so much faster through here, and you can already see that I think I've got Lewis Hamilton behind me, and that was kind of like an evidential proof that, yeah, the AIs are quicker than myself. So I've just got to try and give it everything now. So you go into this corner here. That's probably the toughest corner on the track, because it sort of just so slowly turns away from yourself there. But now heading in towards this final corner, we've just got to try and maximize all the performance we have here. This probably wasn't the greatest thing to do, mainly because, of course, we were sort of offline. We could have gone a little bit wider. You can see that we're half a second up now, curving towards 6 tenths of a second up on our best lap time. As we cross the line for that result, it is P6 on the grid, and that was as best as I could possibly do. I don't think I could have done any better than that. Maybe the final corner, I could have gone in a little bit wider and not made the corner so tight for myself. Honestly, if I probably went a bit wider and gave myself a little bit more speed then through there to enter the final corner in a better manner, I think I probably maybe would have been able to potentially jumped Nico Rosberg, because we were only a couple of hundreds off him. Pascal Wehrlein was the 10th off, but I don't know if a 10th of a second was really there just by doing what I did then. So who knows? It's sort of like a give or take on that one. But it is obviously, Sam is on pole position. He's on a great run so far, of course. He did a great job in the Canadian Grand Prix last time around. And obviously Lando Norris is now up alongside him, but we're on the grid here. And as you can see, it's going to be a 2-stop race, and it's recommending me to do the ultra soft to super soft to soft. Now, the reason that it's not doing 2 sets of super softs is because on my first run in qualifying, I used the super soft tyres. So in theory, I can still use them. They've just done 1 lap in qualifying. But anyway, then as we get onto the Grand Prix, then we've got 5 red lights here for the start of this Grand Prix. It's lights out. There we go here to start this French Grand Prix. It's been a decent start from us off the line, but it's been a good start for Lando Norris now. He goes towards the middle of both Sam and also George Russell in towards the first corner now. Russell gets squeezed up by both McLarens there. Sam now is under pressure from his teammate Lando Norris, and Norris gets the job done quite easily there, actually, from himself, as Rosberg now coming out of nowhere, just flying through one of the Red Bulls there. That was so easy for Nico there, as he now is taking on Sam here. So Sam going backwards here as we now go down the inside of Pascal Wehrlein in towards this that corner there. And now as we head down towards the Mistral straight here, you can see that I think that is George Russell now who's behind Nico Rosberg. Sam did manage to hold off the threat from Nico, so that is kind of good for him now as we go blasting down the straight here. We got Pascal now goes over towards the inside line here against Nico. We'll go to the outside line against Nico Rosberg, carrying a bit more speed through here. A little less downforce, swoop round the outside of the pair of them. A brilliant double overtake down the Mistral straight there. And now already from P6 on the grid, we are up into 3rd place. And now, as you can see, we've got Lando Norris leading the Grand Prix. Sam in second place behind. Myself in third, ahead of Nico Rosberg. Now we've got one of the Porsche cars of Max Verstappen going towards the inside line here at Hulkenberg now. So the Porsche and the Ferrari getting a little bit hasty here. Of course, Porsche and Ferrari very close to each other in the championship so far. So this is a big overtake if Verstappen can hold it off, and he does. Great overtake there. And now obviously the two Renault cars looking interested as we have a look through the entire grid there as Rosberg had a little look at myself there. I did make a little bit of a mistake into that corner. Like I said, toughest corner on the track, that one. And it cost me there a little bit. But as you can see, look at the two McLarens go. They've got a great advantage already at the start of this Grand Prix. There they go. And Lando Norris leads the way for the first time in this Grand Prix. But Sam closing the slipstream. Meanwhile, for myself, I'm under pressure here from Nico Rosberg now as Rosberg, with that more straight line speed in the Ferrari, comes back at us again as we go in towards turn one now. We stay in front of Nico, but that was a little bit close there. Meanwhile, back at the front though, Sam and Lando Norris are about to go into combat, but look at the advantage they've got. They are blasting away up front now, and this is giving them some free air to go for it here, as now in towards the chicane they go. At the end of the Mistral straight, Sam now goes around he just swoops around the outside of Lando Norris. That's quite embarrassing for Lando there, that Sam just got that so easily done now. But for Lando Norris, it's not all doom and gloom, because now he gets a run on Sam in towards this next complex of corners here, and he's going to go for it down the inside, very fast right-hander there. But Lando, fairness to him, stays with it, and he's going to get the position there. Sam cannot get anywhere near Lando Norris in that portion of the track, and Lando gets the place back. So for the first time, really, we are now seeing Lando Norris get his elbows out here as Sam now, again, lap 3 now of the Grand Prix. DRS will be enabled, so this will make the overtake a lot easier now for Sam to get through. And as you can see now, blasting on the straight, but look at the gap now between the two McLaren cars. The more that they're fighting, it's now allowing me and the rest of the field to close right up to these two McLarens. So if they want to keep on fighting, by all means carry on, because you're just allowing the lot of us to get right up. You can see, look at that, how much time I'm able to gain in the chicane. Now the chicane is the best place to really gain time, as Norris now goes back again on Sam. So Sam every time is getting the DRS on Lando Norris, and then as you can see now, look where I am. So I am now right onto the back of the two McLarens, and this is so close as I tried to have a look at there. But now as we go to lap 4 of the Grand Prix, I'm still staying with these two cars as we keep firing our way through. Pascal Wehrlein now has got in front of Nico Rosberg, but we are now just following the two McLaren cars and just literally letting them scrap, which is just allowing me to get right up onto the back of them. And you can see though, Pascal Wehrlein, his proximity arrows, they're still there on my screen. So Pascal is still right there. Look, 7 tenths back, so it's 3 tenths between myself and Sam, and then it's obviously 7 tenths myself and also Lando Norris. So there's Pascal there, look in the background now. Here comes Sam though, he's going to grab DRS, and this time he's going to go to the outside line once again on Lando Norris, as we now try and have a look on his teammate as well and towards the chicane. This is the chance for me now to attack both the McLaren cars, but it doesn't actually pay off. But obviously Lando Norris gets a great run now out of this corner, and this is going to be my best shot to potentially get one of them here now as we go on through, as Lando now goes past Sam, and all of a sudden I think Sam's been compromised a little bit there, because we now fly through on the back of the McLaren car. No, Sam's going slowly. Sam is going slowly in the background, so Sam has got a problem. Has he got a puncture perhaps? I think Sam might just have a puncture here, which has caused him to go out of this race. No, he's pulled over. Oh my God, Sam has pulled over, and he is out of the French Grand Prix. Chaos for McLaren. So Lando Norris now takes the lead, and confirmation there that Sam is out of the French Grand Prix. He'd done a great job on qualifying to get that thing on pole position, and he was doing so well in terms of the gap that himself and Norris were building. And now Sam is out of the race, and the unreliability of that McLaren carries on. And with that, let's go for an undercut actually. Now that Sam is out of the race, that was my call. We were fighting 2 McLarens versus 1 Mercedes. Now, it's 1 McLaren versus 1 Mercedes. Let's get the undercut going, and I think one of the Red Bulls is going to join me on that one. Let's get the undercut going. Let's start putting the pressure on McLaren. This was a race, as you could clearly see from the start of it, that McLaren have in the bag. This is a McLaren circuit, and all of a sudden, it's now going backwards. And if we can get the undercut, my attacking is not too bad, obviously, against Lando Norris. I was able to keep up with him. Defensively wise, it's going to be a lot harder, but I'd rather compromise Lando in different areas of the track so that he doesn't get the benefit. And as you see there, look, you just saw me scrolling through the next tyres. So I do have a set of super soft tyres available. It's just a case of they've done one qualifying lap there as Sergio Perez just gets in the way here. So obviously we've caught up to the back marker of Perez. Norris has pitted, so he stayed out about 2 or 3 laps longer than myself, which could help him, or it may hinder him. But as we now go swooping around the outside of Sergio Perez, quite a simple move there for myself, and now opening up the DRS to get a little bit extra drag down the back straight here and across the start finish line. But where is Lando Norris now? There he is, right behind us. He's just coming out of the pit exit now. The undercut has worked as Russell now sets the fastest lap of the race so far. So, now the ball is in McLaren's court to come back at me. Lando Norris now, this is a replay of him going past Sergio Perez. So I passed him. Now, obviously, you can see that Norris is, and that's me going into the chicane there. So there I go, and there's Lando Norris. Still quite close as Pascal Wehrlein now gets in front of the Sauber driver, not the Sauber driver, the Lamborghini driver. I'm getting myself mixed up here. But meanwhile, my fighting through the field continues. Next up, Antonio Giovinazzi in the Jaguar car. Doing a good job so far. P5 for the team. But as you can see now, the gap between myself and Lando Norris as he comes across the line, 2.2 seconds. It's still quite close. And if I can keep trying to maintain the gap as we go down the inside here on Giovinazzi, and we're going to give him a nice little squeeze on the exit there of turn 2, and we get in front of him. Next at the road is Pierre Gasly in the other Jaguar car. And meanwhile, one lap later, this is Lando Norris getting past Antonio Giovinazzi. So luckily for myself, it actually took another lap for Lando Norris to get in front of the Jaguar car there as he flies now through. And as you can see, Pascal Wehrlein here has got a very, very nice run on the Jaguar car. This should be quite an easy one for Pascal Wehrlein now as they go into... Oh, that's a big lockup from Pascal Wehrlein there. That's going to be a flat spot on the front left tyre there. But unfortunately, it hasn't cost him too much there as a virtual safety car. Max Verstappen now is out of the Grand Prix. Now, I tried to find a replay of this, but... every time I scroll through the entire field, Verstappen's car was not eligible to be seen. So I have no idea what happened to him. Probably a mechanical failure, but it has caused a virtual safety car, which in some respects is okay, and in some respects it's actually a pain in the backside here. But Gasly now really holding me up in this part of the track here. Gap 4 tenths between myself and Pierre Gasly. Gap 2 seconds between myself and Norris. So overall, that gap between myself and Lando Norris is starting to fall. And now, as you can see, we're onto the straight here. And now we're going to have a little attempt at Pierre Gasly as we go into rich mixture here. And now up towards the chicane here. Braking nice and late down the inside. A little lock up there from Pierre Gasly. But we go nice and wide and basically compromise the exit of the chicane there. And back end slides a little bit on the exit of that. But we're perfectly fine. We can carry on with that. And we're going to increase the ERS a little bit. And try and pull away now from Gasly, if possible. And speaking of Pierre Gasly, here comes Lando Norris to attack now. But here is the problem. Lando Norris has got DRS on Gasly, but Gasly has got DRS on me. So Norris now is less than a second behind myself as we go in towards the chicane here now. Norris locks up, goes really wide though into the chicane, and he's just stopped. Lando is just stopped. Now he goes on to the apex of the corner, and he's just... Oh my God! What? Lando Norris just locked up into the chicane. Oh my God, and Hamilton's gone into the back as well. Norris just locked up into the chicane, stopped on the apex, and Rosberg has just gone into the back of him. Norris is now out. Both McLaren cars have imploded here in France. They both have lost the Grand Prix, and that has just left me to set sail up front. And of course, that just means now that whoever is behind me, come and get me, basically, because the next person that's going to come and get me will probably retire. Speaking of going backwards, Hülkenberg keeps going backwards because Esteban Ocon now goes down the inside of him, and there's my teammate Reese in front, having a little bit of a tougher Grand Prix, and he's in front of one of the Audi cars there. And here is one of the Porsche cars now. So this is Charles Leclerc having a look here as we look at Ocon. Tries to have a look here on Reese now. Down in towards turn 1 here. And oh, Reese gives Ocon a right old smack there. So Reese, no love lost between those two heavy rivals. Of course, myself and Reese are in a bitter rivalry with George Russell and Esteban Ocon on and off the track. And that was a little bit of a harsh one there from Reese. Really getting the elbows out. And Ocon nearly losing the back of it now. But he now has to focus behind him. Reese begins to pull away as Charles Leclerc now gets into the action here and has a look at Esteban Ocon as we see the rest of the pack going through, but Ocon shoves off Charles Leclerc there and says absolutely no chance you are coming through from there. But now he's got to defend on the Mistral straight against that Porsche car, and I don't think it's going to be quite so simple for him. And as you can see, Charles Leclerc says, all right, you may have fended me off in the corners, that's fine, but I'm just going to breeze past you on the straight. Unlucky, son, and gets the position done. So that is Charles Leclerc up now into whatever position he is, as there's some random floating tyres on the track. That's great. That's probably Rosberg and Norris's ghostly tyres, whatever it may be. On to lap 15 of the Grand Prix now, and we've got 12 laps to go in the Grand Prix, or 12 laps when we cross the start-finish line. These super soft tyres have been absolutely phenomenal. They have been great. So I decided to ditch the set of soft tyres that I was going to go onto, and I'm just going to go onto a fresh set, or not a fresh set, but my used set of super soft tyres that I still had. These super soft tyres are going to have 4, 5, maybe 6% wear on some of the tyres, and to get held up a little bit there by Pascal Wehrlein. Not good for me at all. But yeah, I thought, well, it's only got 4, like say 6% maximum. They're only really going to be 1-2 laps old. So really, in effect, I'm pitting on the end of lap 13, start of lap 14. And that's what I'm basically judging my race on. So for me, running on these set of super soft tyres, I'm not too concerned about. But as you can see now, we're coming out of the pits here, and I kind of needed to, because Wehrlein behind is on a set of soft tyres. Now I can take advantage of my super soft tyres and go to the end. So there you go, look, the rears are on 6. They're pretty much all, they were all on 6% basically. So obviously did the out lap, and then I did the in lap. And I did a hot lap as well on my super soft tyres. So they haven't really done that much, of course, but they could be in a better condition. But they're not, so who cares? As you can see now, though, still some traffic to get past here. And these are guys that are going to the end of the race now. So obviously, this is where we're going to be at the fastest. So we just got to keep getting on with it now. First of all, Carlos Sainz, dispatched out of the way. Job done. Now we can try and move on to Hülkenberg next. And as you can see now, we've got Hülkenberg straight in front of us. We now need to try and get past him as soon as we possibly can. We did just set the fastest lap of the race so far, and now as you can see, we're going on to Esteban Ocon and trying to catch up to him, of course, in the Renault. Of course, me and Ocon, well, we hate each other, basically. We have absolutely no respect for each other, so this fight is going to be quite leery. Ocon is going to do absolutely everything to stay in front of me, and I'm going to do everything in my possible power to barge past him, and that's exactly what I intend on doing, as we now open up the DRS here against Esteban Ocon. I think, because he's going to defend the inside line, he is going to defend the inside line, so we'll go to the outside line, but we're just going to breeze past Ocon, and yeah, completely shut the door there. No love lost. Thanks, Ocon. Bye now. And my final target now is Charles Leclerc, who's leading the Grand Prix, and he is going to the end of the race as we stand. Now it's time to get onto the back of him here. And as you can see now, it is time to attack Charles Leclerc. It's the fastest first sector of the race so far. We've got some great pace on these super soft tyres, and Ocon 2.4 back, and I was monitoring that gap because I'm waiting for how long it takes for Pascal Wehrlein to pass the group of cars as well. And then, of course, in fact, Wehrlein is just behind Ocon, so he's dropped off a lot from myself compared to what it was as we go into the chicane now. We weren't close enough to have a go on Charles Leclerc, but as we now go round here, you can see all the random floating bits of debris everywhere. We get a great run though on Charles Leclerc, and we're going to do basically what the McLarens have been doing all race long, which was fighting by here, as we then get a huge screen freeze, which is why I sort of decided to go into no man's land, but I corrected that, and we get past Charles Leclerc into the lead of the French Grand Prix. Now it's time to build a little bit of a gap between myself and Charles, and then drag this one to the end of the race. And that's exactly what we did. We built ourselves a nice advantage. Eventually, these super soft tyres, they did wear off a lot more than my other set. Of course, they were slightly used, but I thought they may have been able to have done a bit longer. Maybe, obviously, if I had them as a brand new set, they wouldn't be in as such a bad condition. But nonetheless, we have taken advantage from where McLaren have failed. This was an easy race to get a 1-2 for McLaren, but both of them have messed up today, and that has allowed me to come across the line to win the French Grand Prix. And I have now put over a voiceover of some random good job thing. You won't know where that has come from. Only me and Sam know where that's come from, but it's quite funny and I wanted to put it in. So as you can see, it is myself ahead of Charles Leclerc, Pascal Wehrlein, and then Vettel, Gasly, Carlos Sainz, Rees, Ocon, Hülkenberg, and Giovinazzi rounding out the top 10 with both McLarens out of the race. That's going to take a big chunk out of their lead in the championship, which they never had. So this is what the Drivers' Championship looks like then after that crazy French Grand Prix. I have now taken the lead of the Drivers' Championship, I think for the first time this season. I actually can't remember if I took the lead of the championship in the Canadian Grand Prix. But we're on 93 points now, ahead of Pascal Wehrlein, who is on 78 points. Sebastian Vettel is now up to third in the championship with 51 points, ahead of Charles Leclerc, who's on 46 points, of course, getting his best ever finish, bolstering him up the table. Rees just a point behind with 45 points, and then Sam He's next with 43 points, just 3 points now separating those three drivers. Lewis Hamilton is on 35 points, still doing a decent job this season, but it's clear to see that Sebastian Vettel is doing a better job, and Hamilton will be aware of this. Hulkenberg is on 24 points, still doing a stellar job for Ferrari. Considering the fact that their pace has been so poor this season, to still be in the top 10 of the championship is actually quite a strong thing for him. Lando Norris will be gutted the fact that he is still only P9 in the championship, 22 points to his name, and Pierre Gasly, you can see there on 22 points for Jaguar as well, doing a stellar job. As for the Constructors' Championship, meanwhile, Mercedes-Benz lead the way with 138 points to their name. Audi are next down in line with 86 points. So you can see how Mercedes have been capitalizing from others' misfortunes. Red Bull are on 80 points, just 6 points now behind Audi. McLaren, meanwhile, are on 65 points. But what a different story this Constructors' Championship could have been if McLaren did secure that 1-2 finish. Add 43 points to their name, take a couple of chunks off of Mercedes, they'd be right behind them. But unfortunately, they're not. Porsche are on 53 points now and actually closing up to McLaren. So this is a big stage now for McLaren in the next race to get their act together. Jaguar are on 29 points, and for Ferrari, it just gets worse for the Scuderia team at the moment. With both drivers not able to get along, their car underperforming, Porsche are now stonking clear of them, and Jaguar have now got in front of them. Lamborghini, meanwhile, actually scored points as well in the French Grand Prix, outscoring Ferrari and are catching them in this season so far. 20 points for Lamborghini. Renault are on 6 points after Ocon scored some points again today. BMW, though, still not scoring any points, and it's going to take a miracle by the looks of things for BMW to score. But yeah, that is everything for the Constructors' Championship. With all that being said, let's get into the post-race notebook, see what teams had to say, and wrap up this episode here at Paul Ricard. As you can see then, let's get into the post-race notebook and see what people had to say after that race win and race results. So, McLaren are absolutely outraged by a wasted opportunity for a 1-2 finish. Both McLarens have built an easy gap out the front, and it was between Sam and Lando Norris to take the race win. However, because of their scrapping, it allowed the rest of the field to close up on them. Sam had a mechanical failure. Lando Norris locked up, lost drive on the chicane, and then that caused Nico Rosberg to smash into the side of him, costing them an opportunity for that 1-2 finish. Tom states that he was very lucky today to get the race win at the French Grand Prix. Of course, Tom capitalized on all of the problems around him, kept his race nice and clean, and got the race win. However, he says that's definitely one of the luckiest ones he's ever going to have in Formula 1. And Charles Leclerc is also another man who's got a big smile on his face. He is delighted with his best ever F1 finish. Charles Leclerc finishing second for Porsche in his first podium in Formula 1 and his best ever Formula 1 finish, and he says that that is more to come from Porsche. But anyway, guys, that is it for round number 5 of the French Grand Prix. Next time around, we'll be off to the Hungaroring for the Hungarian Grand Prix, a completely different circuit to here, much more slower speed. Will that pay into the hands of Mercedes and also Red Bull, or can McLaren find the edge with the downforce that they've been missing and snatch victory at the Hungaroring? We'll find out next time. Thank you very much for watching. Take care all. Peace.